Drafting stars is always hard, but today we hand out the rookies their report cards. Find out what grades they get coming up next.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Jazz. My name is Leif Thulin. I'm excited and honored to have the opportunity to fill in for David Locke. And as many of you guys may know by now, I'm a lifelong Jazz fan who's a credentialed NBA draft analyst for Locked On NBA Big Board, attendee of the 2023 and 2024 NBA Draft Combines, Jazz broadcast assistant and statistician, lover of college basketball. So don't expect all of the geeky numbers of usual that you're accustomed to with David to be gone, but I'll bring a unique perspective as someone who watches a ton of the young generation and can tell you a lot about the games of some of the young players in the Jazz and those and the next generation of Jazz men. So I'll do all that and hopefully make you as knowledgeable as possible about your Utah Jazz. Thanks for making Locked On Jazz your first listen each and every day. And remember, Locked On Jazz is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Jazz, where the best way to help us grow is comment anything below. And today's question is, what is the report card and what are your grades for the three rookies? And do you like my comparison for Isaiah Collier we'll get to next? The title sponsor for today's episode is FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel, new customers can get you $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So definitely go check that out. And by the way, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing Locked On Jazz Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. And sign up for free now at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com. And start your day with an all-new free Locked On Jazz news. So today on the show, I've got an interesting one for you. I'm going to talk about the difficulties of drafting in today's climate and just in general, but give you my report card for the Jazz rookies, where I had them before the season during my draft boards, and where I have them now. So in the first segment, I'll discuss the steal of the draft, in my opinion, Isaiah Collier, and tell you about his player comp I came up with, one I'm pretty proud of. I'm curious what you guys think. And plus, I'll tell you about the rarefied air he could join by the end of the season. In segment 2, I'll discuss the 10th pick, Cody Williams, and the trials and tribulations of his season. And in the final segment, I'll go over the play of Kyle Filipowski, who's coming off a career-high 20 as we head to the All-Star break. So let's dive right in. Yeah, I said it. Isaiah Collier is the steal of the draft. You look at the draft, and I don't see many players better than Isaiah Collier. You just don't. And that's about what they are right now and what they could be. And I'm not sure I see that many players better than Isaiah Collier in general. So drafting is really difficult, and that'll be a theme of this. But let me give you some background, right? So Isaiah Collier was not very good at USC, but he wasn't as atrocious as you'd think, considering he fell to 29th after being very highly ranked in high school. He did some things at USC, despite a really bad team that had his coach get fired. Enfield found his way to SMU. A whole carousel began of coaches going different places. Now it's Eric Musselman at USC. But Isaiah Collier, even in a poor season, which I think even he'd quantify as poor, he did some things at an undeniably rare level, and those things have translated and have done so very easily. On the season in the NBA, Collier averages 7 points, 3 assists, or 7 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists. But that doesn't tell the whole story. That's largely when he was saddled riding the pine, and once he got his turn and the calendar switched over, Isaiah Collier's been a beast. He's averaged 11.6 points, 8.8 assists, and 4.2 rebounds in his last 20 games. And if you want an even better sample size of his last 10, where the team has really been his team to run, he's averaging 12.5, 9.2 assists, 4.3 rebounds in his last 10 games. Give him the opportunity, and he's going to take that inch and make it a mile. Isaiah Collier joins a short list of rookies who have had an 100-plus assist season, 100-plus assist month within a season in a calendar month, and the first rookie to do it since 2020 and /2021. He joins the likes of Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, and many, many all-stars that precede him. So now you look at, aside from that, what does he do for the Utah Jazz? He makes Walker Kessler a ton better with his rim pressure. He puts pressure on the paint, lets Walker Kessler catch alley-oops. John Collins, same thing. He makes players better, and gradually Lauri Markkanen is finding a comfort zone alongside Isaiah Collier. So Will Hardy, I've been talking about him in the previous episodes. The everydayers, you're going to know what I'm talking about, how I like to reference what he says in press conferences. The motif of late has been the praise heaped upon Isaiah Collier's ability to push the pace and make everyone else better by getting them easy shots, because he is undeniably the best at pushing the pace on the Jazz, and he also will do it no matter how well you guard. If your game plan is get back on defense, Collier's still going to beat you back. If you're not back on defense, he's going to know it and really cause you guys trouble getting back on defense. So Will Hardy, he constantly praises him, saying that when he's in the game, the whole team runs more and believes they'll get open shots and rewarded for running the floor. The Jazz have been trying to play with better pace for years now. And it's no coincidence that the Jazz's best basketball this season has come in the games Isaiah Collier's gotten the most opportunity to have his controls on the game. There's been countless close games of late, wins, close losses, some that are frustrating, some that you're saying, oh, thank goodness we lost if you're fans of tanking. It's frustrating to lose those games for the youngsters. Like Isaiah Collier desperately wants to win that game, and he desperately wants to win that game in Phoenix. He wants to win the game against the Clippers. Those are going to make him frustrated. But the reason the Jazz are in those games is the overarching feeling of confidence that he's provided, and it's palpable. When you're listening to Will Hardy or you're at the games, you can tell the team believes that they're going to get a good shot and believes that if they run the floor, they'll be rewarded in a way that hasn't been something that I've seen in the 4 years I've worked for the Utah Jazz. And the pace of play is excellent. Obviously, and so this is the part where there's a negative. Like all report cards have this student's done a great job, but I wish he'd be a little more quiet in class. They all come with a caveat. So the caveat for Isaiah Collier is obviously he has a glaring deficiency, and it's his shooting. He's only hitting 28% from deep, and teams dare him to shoot. But this is a key point, so listen up right here. This is how I knew before Collier started getting playing time and like serious playing time, extended run, that he would stick and maybe be super good, because he shoots it when he's being dared to shoot. He does it and doesn't shy away, and he plays with chutzpah. He plays with confidence that's just there. It's innately in who he is. And even before he was playing a lot and playing well, he still shot and he still acted like he belonged, and he was that dude. You may say, oh, like I hate when I play with that guy and pick up who's not like that. Isaiah Collier has been confident from the day one. When he's shooting, he talks trash with the guys warming up. And when he's shooting, it doesn't matter if he makes or misses. He believes he should be shooting the shot. And that's something that really matters when you're talking about the guys that belong at the upper levels and how it translates. The fact he was groomed as a top guy throughout high school has not been a negative for him, because he's had no problem adjusting to be one of the guys, but he is one of the dudes. And that's really, really important. And there's been notable instances of where people have tried to punk him, and he hasn't backed down in iota. Stays right there and laughs off the punking attempt. Now let's go down the memory lane, though. He was the top high schooler in his class, and he's always been bigger, faster, stronger. So his effectiveness might be lower with no spacing at USC. And then he got hurt, and then he made it hard to have faith that a guy who couldn't shoot and who has always been able to get to the paint didn't have a good season in the first year where there was athletes comparable to him. But he had a few unteachable games where his rim pressure and innate ability to put pressure on the rim and touch the paint and make passes that no one else can see, that was demonstrated, and you couldn't unsee it. So he has that ability to touch the paint. He has the tenacity on the court and unwavering self-belief, and that led the pathway to how good he'd be. And I saw it again early this year, because I come into every game early and I watch the warm-ups. I do all this. And when he comes into the game, even when he was playing sparingly, he brought tempo and aggression. It didn't look to fit in, but rather to stand out. And he was unafraid. So now let's go full circle. I had him 12th on my board coming into the year. So I had him far higher than where he was picked. He fell a lot further, but I wasn't surprised on where he fell. I just believed, you know what, this guy can really get to the paint. He'll spray the ball and get the ball to different players. And if he ever shoots, then wonderful. And honestly, I'm not so confident that he has to shoot that well. It just can't be someone sagging to the free throw line when he's bringing the ball up. And that's happened a couple times, but at least he's shooting it. I was a little higher than most, and drafting's hard. And it's hard to have a belief in a guy who's a smaller guard with little shooting. That's scary. So I don't criticize people who have not been high on him, but he's even better than that spot where I picked him. And here's a prediction. I think Isaiah Collier will become, if not the first, one of the very first to ever not attend the Rising Stars Challenge as a rookie, but finish on the first team all rookie as opportunity presented itself later for him than other rookies. But I think he's better than the rest of them. Shooting must improve. But aside from that, there's no reason to not have wild optimism about the future of Isaiah Collier and the Utah Jazz. His innate ability to generate passing lanes and opportunities due to his rim pressure and strong body is just so rare. And the Jazz will reap those rewards from him for years to come. And I expect by year 4, I was talking to a friend about this. I think Isaiah Collier can easily be a 15 points, 10 assist guy on what could and hopefully should be a good team by the end of his rookie contract. His traits are so rare, especially in today's modern era of guys being long, lanky, and shooting prone, that there aren't really point guards that don't resemble, there's more flame-throwing point guards that shoot a lot and that are more scoring-oriented than true point guards, and they're often taller or slight of build. And so I had a hard time thinking of comparisons for Isaiah Collier. True point guards that Collier resembled both in body type and game. The first that came to my mind was the savant offensive passer in Rajon Rondo, who is deficient as a shooter, but was an amazing distributor, amazing defender, gets out in transition, but he also played with multiple Hall of Famers early in his career. And I think that aided and abetted in his processing ability. And he's just the ultimate film junkie who calculated where to pass. Whereas Isaiah Collier is, I'm going to get to the paint and create a pass. It's a little different to me. So I'd been thinking for a while. And I finally came up with one that I think is a good comparison. So let me know what you guys think. Isaiah Collier reminds me of a young Baron Davis. And I'll fully admit I didn't watch a ton of young Baron Davis because part of that preceded my birth. But I am a film junkie. I watch a ton of hardwood classics. I watch a lot of basketball. And I watched Baron Davis many, many times with the Warriors with my older cousins, watching the Warriors when I would travel to California. And also, I've been watching NBA TV since I've been way, way too young. So Baron Davis, for those who don't know, was strong. He was fast. He touched the paint with ease, put pressure on the rim, used power and speed to generate touches for his squad, and was a capable scorer. I think Collier can follow the career path that Davis had. And Davis started 0 times in year 1, but then in year 2, he had 82 starts. And in year 2, he averaged 14 and 7. I think that's very doable for Isaiah Collier. And year 3, Baron Davis was an all-scorer, scoring 18 and dishing out 9 assists. I don't know if Isaiah Collier can be an all-star in year 3, but I think the trajectory is one that is feasible to achieve in the statistical mindset. Granted, Baron Davis is scoring probably, if you scale it up with the analytics of today, is probably a little ahead of where Collier would be. But the same archetype, same path. So let me know what you guys think. That's doable to follow that pathway to me. And I hope people realize how good Baron Davis was. And I don't think this is overly hyperbolic. And in a redraft, I said I'd touch on this. I think the Jazz have a top 7 guy in this class. They just happened to draft him at 29. The Jazz had the 10th pick. And, you have a top 7 guy. That's what you hope for any top 10 pick that you have. You hope you end up with a guy who's top 5, top 7 in the class. And I think the Jazz do. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the guy that was picked at 10th. That's Cody Williams. When it comes to grocery shopping and meal planning, I've had this ongoing problem. I just don't have the time. And many of you guys will resonate with that. Between work, life, and trying to eat healthier, I was constantly feeling stressed out. I'd go to the grocery store, buy things I didn't need, and then end up with no time to actually cook them. And then sticking to my health goals, that was a struggle too. And trust me, don't I know it. But everything changed when I discovered Hungry Root. Honestly, it's been a game changer. It's the easiest way to eat healthy without all the stress. With Hungry Root, it's like having a personal shopper and a nutritionist packaged all in one. They take care of my grocery shopping, recommending meals and groceries based on my taste and health goals. And they cover everything from anti-inflammatory stuff to high protein and gluten-free options. They have all of it and package it just for your preferences. And the best part, every meal is ready in 15 minutes or less. I'm talking quick, healthy meals that actually taste great. All delivered straight to my door. It's been a huge time saver and has made eating healthy so much simpler. So I recommend following that. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as I do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box and a free item in every box for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/lockedonnba and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's hungryroot.com/lockedonnba with the code LOCKEDONNBA to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/lockedonnba, code LOCKEDONNBA. Don't miss out. Could not recommend it more highly to you guys. I also want to tell you guys about Murdoch Chevy. Murdoch's have been in Utah for over 80 years. Chevy isn't as American as it gets. You think a truck going down a highway in an old school movie in a Western, and that truck's undeniably going to be a Chevy. There's locations in Woodcross and Logan, so you can get yourself into one of those dealerships, and there's a great lineup of trucks, the Colorado, the Silverado, and you can go to the websites, which is, it has its inventory up to the date, so you can see what trucks are there and see the latest deals that they're offering for those trucks. And there's also a lineup of SUVs that is unbelievable, with the Tahoe, the Suburban, the Blazer, the Equinox, and the Trax. All excellent deals and all great cars. So check out Murdoch Chevy and make sure to let them know that you guys listen to Locked On Jazz, and they'll take care of you. All righty, welcome back to Locked On Jazz. I'm Leif Thulin. The second rookie who we're going to talk about is Cody Williams. Cody Williams was drafted 10th out of Colorado with traits that resemble guys who have turned out very well. He's long, he's athletic, he's got ball skills, he shot well in college. But here's why the draft is difficult. It's a crapshoot because Cody had to fit in at Colorado with another top 20 pick in Tristan Da Silva, who went 18th to the Magic, an alpha point guard who was a senior in KJ Simpson, who was a second-round pick, and then a ball-possessing center who clogged the paint in Eddie Lampkin. So the fact that Cody was efficient but not all that assertive was up to the eye of the beholder. Does he just fit in because that's his nature? Or was it because there are guys and an established hierarchy that are veteran and that's how they were going to play? And were his injuries he sustained, such as a fracture where he had to wear a face mask, such as many ankle sprains, a wrist injury, was that to blame for slowing him down? Because he started really hot. He had a few games where he took over the game and he shot 42% from deep. Was he just efficient because of he was lower on the scouting report, or should he have taken more shots? Like, you could ask so many things. Was he geared toward being more a complementary piece, and that's why the Jazz were drafting him to be more than that, or can he be more than that, and he was just a complementary piece? That's why it's so difficult to draft. So this is the difference between the two things we talked about. Cody looks like a deer in headlights. Like we talked about Isaiah Collier's unabashed confidence. Cody Williams looks like a deer in headlights more than I would have dreamed he could. And Isaiah Collier looks like a bull running at red. That's the difference between those two guys. Cody has the length, the coordination, the size, the intellect. He passes, he defends multiple positions. And then there's certainly growth. But what scares me is watching him, there's this uncertainty. It's understandable for a lot of draft picks, but I believe the growth that we should maybe have to keep an eye on. I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this for you guys. What we have to keep an eye on is how confidently he takes the shots, how confidently he makes the reads, how assertive he is in the moments he has. And that'll come with work, both in the offseason and playing time. So that brings me to this season. I attend every shoot-around before the games, and Cody Williams has shot 42% at Colorado, but not a high volume. And I always say high volume is the best indication of how well a guy shoots. If they shoot a ton of threes and they're 37%, I'm going to believe in them more than I do a guy like Cody who shot 42% and shot 1.8 threes per game, somewhere around there. So the reason I bring this up, I go to every shoot-around before the game, and I watch people shoot all day, every day at Jazz games. And I watch him shoot, and the ball does not come out of his hand in a textbook fashion. It doesn't spin properly. There's a little bit of a left hand pushing it and guiding it. And it almost inspires me in the sense that it's hard to shoot as well as he did. 42% in college, shooting it a strange way in a non-textbook fashion. And with low volume, yes, you could say, oh, there's not a big enough sample size. But you could also say, man, like, he made the shots he took. And that's hard to do. So there's a slight chance this reaps great rewards, because if you change a minor thing, that is take his left hand out of the equation, get a little more backspin on the ball, he could fix a lot of things, and he's got good touch, which is the indication given by him making as many threes as he did at the clip he did in college. So his ball doesn't spin enough. It resembles a bit of a knuckleball. That's a little scary. But here's the positive about Cody Williams. He really slides his feet well, defends at a high level, needs to trust his feet, though, and not get those rookie fouls where you're there and maybe a vet doesn't get picked up, but he needs to avoid reaching in, use those feet of his that he slides very well. He has the traits. He really does. And he's shown flashes recently. And there's an outline of what I kind of expected. And this is why I've been torn watching Cody. Cody, I knew was in need of physical maturation. And I knew it was unfair to expect a rookie season that resembled that of his brother Jalen Williams to be what Cody would be. Because Jalen came out as a junior, Cody came out as a freshman. And Jalen is and was far more muscular. They have different body types. But the athleticism was the thing that I hoped, and I kind of banked on, I know other people did too, is that Jalen's a spectacular athlete. Cody's a very good athlete too, but they're different. Cody's wiry. So my expectations for Cody would be on a similar plan to prior rookies the Jazz have had. And they've benefited greatly from extra reps with the ball in their hands playing in the G League, like the likes of Ochai Agbaji, Taylor Hendricks, and others who would play more by this stage of the year, meaning in February and onward, they get their actual audition for the Utah Jazz as opposed to prior and show folks what they're about. Agbaji was 22 when he came into the draft, and he drew talks of being nearly untouchable after year one about with Kessler and with Markkanen. Everyone said he's the guy that we got to keep. Well, that's changed swiftly, and he was 22. But the reason he was seen that way is because he had time to build his confidence, out of sight, out of mind, and he comes back, and all of a sudden he's really good to finish the year. Taylor Hendricks, before the last 2 months of the season, was not very good, to be honest with you, and he got vastly, vastly better than he was at the start of the season and inspired hope to the point people thought maybe he was the better rookie between he and Keontae George, and Keontae George was one of the highest rookie scorers in the NBA, even though there was, a bit of a bump in the road in terms of efficiency. I feel as if Cody Williams, if he's drawn more scrutiny than those guys who drew heaps of praise in the final months of the season because they had time to develop and hone their craft in the dark in the G League, out of sight and appearing more ready when they were in sight. What's happened to Cody is he started early and played a decent amount from day one and was not ready. And his confidence is a mercurial thing, right? It's something that when you got it going. But when it's gone, it's hard to find, and it makes no sense why it's hard to find because you're a really good basketball player when you pick number 10 in the world in the draft. Like that, you're a really good basketball player. But the guy's young. He's not necessarily a super outspoken guy that's going to be unbelievably, hey, give me the ball, I'm the rookie. Like that's not who he is. But people seem to think his trip to the G League was more of a demotion than either of Ochai or Taylor Hendricks's. And it's basically the same thing. And in the G League, for the record, Cody shined just as he did in Summer League, where he had myself, I was very high on Cody. I ranked him 5th before the draft on my big board. And James Barlow, who is lower on Cody. I want to say he had him 12th, maybe 14th on his board. We both ranked Cody at 5th after the Summer League in a way too early redraft. So he had both of us sold, and we were at different vantage points coming into that juncture. So in the G League, there have been subtle flashes since his return to the lineup. Late after and especially recently after his ankle injury, you've seen improved confidence, improved decisiveness. And in the G League, Cody Williams scored 17.1 points per game with 4 boards and 3 assists, including scoring 20 plus in his last 3 games, including dropping 36 on great efficiency. Like the guy's got skills, but we need to have patience with some of these rookies. And some guys need to hone their confidence in their craft more than others. Some just need to play. And some need to have confidence built out by having different looks, different repetitions. And I think that's the case. If Cody Williams played the next 2 months and was great, people would emulate the stories that were told about Ochai and Taylor Hendricks rather than see him going to the G League as a demotion. I say all that to say this. The verdict isn't out, but I do think the instant minutes given to him weren't as good because they hurt his belief. And that's scary as we see one side of the spectrum in Isaiah Collier and his sheer unabashed confidence. But not everyone's path is linear. And I don't recall the same outrage about Hendricks, who, need I remind you, was 1 pick prior, 9th pick, also 19 years old. And before March and April, Taylor Hendricks' shooting percentages were not good. He was the dare shooter. I recall a game where the Lakers played a zone and didn't even go try to cover him and gave him 4 straight shots from the right corner. That's a no-no in the NBA. he became a very good shooter in the final 2 months of the season to end the year at 38% from three. Ochai Agbaji was 22, had won a national championship, and he was a mature athlete. His body was fully developed, but he needed time to grow confidence. Be patient, but concern is fair to have. But the point is, drafting is difficult. It's multifaceted, and it's not always immediately clear if you're right or wrong about the draft. But I would say there's cause for concern for Cody Williams, but there's also a lot to be hopeful about in terms of his development as he physically matures, because he has a lot of traits that are unteachable. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the Jazz's final pick, who headed into the All-Star break, had a career night. That's Kyle Filipowski. That and more straight ahead. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, and so you miss anything, even the opening tip-off, and you want to bet a fourth quarter comeback or whatever you like to bet, you can stay in the action. So if you're looking for a big payout, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay and watch the money flow in. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to knock down a clutch three, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. That is a relief. Right now, FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All righty, welcome back to Locked On Jazz. I'm Leif Thulin, and we're talking rookies. We're talking report cards as they head into the All-Star break. Kyle Filipowski was selected 32nd, and I would say he probably has outperformed that because of the capacity of what he did the other night. Like, he has the capacity to score 20 and 10, and very few people drafted in the second round do that. I mean, it's as simple as that. He spaced the floor against a bruising center in Ivica Zubac, and in that one game, he has shown an ability to do something that's fairly rare for youngsters in the NBA, much less guys drafted in the second round. He can be an offensive hub in a game and put the Jazz in a position to win that game. I know they didn't win, but he got the better of a big-time center. And Ivica Zubac may not be the biggest name, but he's really, really good. And I think that the Jazz have gotten a good return in what they picked at 32, because it's all about where you picked a guy. Isaiah Collier is a huge steal at 29. Kyle Filipowski, I think, is going, if you did a redraft right now, is probably ahead of where he was at 32. Flip has had a bit of it in, I would say, an up and down. It's not been a wild roller coaster, but an up and down season, both offensively and defensively. The shot looks improved to my eye watching him shoot. It's soft, it has good rotation, but it's yielded mixed results, shooting 33%. Recently, he shot it pretty well. On the season, Flip averages nearly 7 and 5 and looks more nimble than he did at times at Duke, where he also struggled with hip injuries. And athletically, in general, he looks improved. So the issue is basically everyone else has improved athletically too, from the ACC to the NBA. So he still looks the same way. Flip impressed early in the year, sliding those puppies, as Bill Raftery would say, get those puppies organized. And he said he's I think Kyle Filipowski said this. I'm paraphrasing it a bit, but he said in a post game that I edited once that because he's white and tall, people think they should attack him, but he welcomes it. And he got some stops and said, yeah, you're welcome to attack, but I'm going to show you I'm not easy to score on. That was basically what his point was when he held up well in isolation, when he repeatedly was getting attacked early in the season. But since that has become less true, as more recently, when speaking about Flip's defense, Will Hardy talked about Flip having to be extra aware and work extra hard, as he has no capacity to be a rim protector at 7 feet. So he has to be super aware and very cognizant of where to be and get to those spots earlier, or better yet, be there already in order to prevent teams from attacking him and the spots on the floor that he's inclined to defend as a 7-footer, someone who protects the rim. Instead, he's got to do it by beating them to the spot and be more of a charge taker. I know it's not necessarily taking the charge, but instead of being a rim protector in the traditional sense, he beats them to the spot and disincentivizes the shot from being taken. Now, we knew he wasn't going to be a superior NBA athlete at that height, but he does have the skill set to override that with superior ball skills and the potential to shoot. I mean, that's the simple case. We knew all that. The shot has been hit or miss, like we said, but I generally think that it looks pretty good. Like it's improved from what it was at Duke, and I watched plenty of him the last 2 years. Now, the biggest jumps, though, have come on the physical side, where he's become more fleet of foot and stronger, maximizing what he does have. Like I said, the capacity to be an offensive hub on offense, and defensively, he's got to do his best. George Niang talks about this all the time. You know, he didn't think he was a bad defender. It's just he may not be as good as some of his teammates, so you got to hold your own. And I think the common theme for Filipowski is he's going to have to space the floor when he's in to get the better of bruising centers or guys that are more athletic, because Filipowski's got the ability to put the ball on the floor. He's got the ability to be a playmaker and an offensive hub. And he's drawing comps to Kelly Olynyk. And that's because Kelly Olynyk with the Jazz and even prior in his career was an excellent passer and shooter. I think Olynyk was a better passer and a better shooter than Filipowski, both in college when he was a first-team All-American, as well as in the NBA. Flip has a way to go to catch Kelly, but becoming stronger and more rugged as he was considered soft in college, and that's that's unfair because he's at Duke and there's a lot of scrutiny, but that was the scouting report. It's paramount to become tougher. It's paramount to become more athletic, even if you're not going to be an unbelievable athlete. In order to allow for Flip to do what Flip can do with the ball in his hands, you got to be decent enough on defense, tough enough to set screens and roll and battle for boards to allow yourself the opportunity to show what you can do that the guys that may be more athletic than you cannot do. And he's gotten better at that. And that in and of itself is worth the pick at 32 because he can space the floor. He can knock down 3 threes in a game against the Clippers, who are very stout defensively, snag 10 boards. He can make passes to guys off cuts and dribble and create. So he's got to have the skill set that he has improve, which he is. But more importantly, he's allowing himself to be on the floor, and improving what he was weak at has helped him show what he's strong at. Overall, I'd say Flip exceeded expectations from the 32nd pick to this point, and we'll only see more time to close the year to show what he has and how seriously he factors into the future. The Jazz are in a weird spot, and it's a funny spot because the youth gets evaluated very critically, but that's because we hope those guys can change the trajectory of the team. So they're, of course, going to have a close eye and face scrutiny, but I hope this gives perspective of how some of us see these guys. And this is from someone who watches them in college and says, I bet this guy can be this. This is what I expect their role to be. And now I'm seeing him on my favorite team up close and personal, covering the team, listening to the guys. And you see where the areas that there is growth and where they compare to NBA guys as opposed to where they compared as the upper echelon in the collegiate game. And that's what it tells you. There's growth, but it's not linear. Some players grow quicker than others. Some have steeper learning curves. And that's what I'm trying to tell you, that there's no right answer. There's no ace in this test. So the rookie report cards are going to tell you different things. But I'd say Kyle Filipowski overall has passed the test and is getting better. And I'll tell you, this is the honest assessment. I had Isaiah Collier in 12th, and I think I was right on that, and he might even be better. I was probably too high on Cody Williams, but I think there's a world in which he achieves to his draft spot. And this is where Gordy Chiesa said the thing about Alex Len the other day. He talked about if Alex Len was not picked 5th and rather 15th, then his career would be a success because he's endured. He's stayed in the league for a long time. If he was picked 25th, then it's icing on the cake. So your draft position indicates the scrutiny that you face. And in the case of Cody Williams, that's tough. In Kyle Filipowski's case, very little pressure, but there is pressure to get better, to hang around and improve your stock so you hang around more frequently and longer. So I'm telling you how I felt about them before and how I feel about them now, seeing them with the Jazz and where I think they'll be by the end of this year and beyond. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about all the rookies and my comparison for Isaiah Collier in particular. I wonder what you guys think. I've been toying with that idea for a while. And as always, thank you guys for making this your first listen. And with your next tune into Locked On NBA Big Board, hear more about some guys that are coming into this draft and could see themselves in Jazz uniforms from Rafael Barlow, James Barlow, and myself. And also, your favorite podcast now is a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Jazz daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right into your inbox. So sign up for free now at Locked On Daily. That's Locked On Daily, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Jazz newsletter. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back with more Jazz news and coverage throughout the week.